There's one thing I'm really passionate about, and that is the subtle science of consciousness, and in particular, the dance between consciousness, frequency, and geometry, and how those three things help to create everything in the universe. And I'm not talking about the sort of awareness type consciousness that we're told to sort of do or believe in or think about, but the more subtle consciousness, the more universal expanded version of consciousness. The fact that some science and some quantum physicists are starting to believe that everything in the universe is consciousness. And if that's the case, then consciousness starts to create the wobble that I've spoken about before, that then creates a vibration, which turns into a frequency, which turns into geometry, which then creates the framework and blueprint for subatomic and atomic particles to come together to create matter. That matter itself then forms another version of consciousness so that consciousness can actually experience itself. It's kind of this really weird, bizarre sort of feedback loop system that the universe potentially has, from consciousness to consciousness. And through that space, it creates vibrations and frequencies and resonant fields and patterns, some that we call ether or prana or quantum fields, and that these things go on to contain and hold everything that we can see around us. And so I think it's super important, as we're going out to help our clients maybe, or even try and help ourselves, that we start to expand into that more universal form of consciousness. And one of the great access points, I think there's two great access points. One is geometry, and in particular sacred geometry, and there's something super special about drawing, playing with, wearing, using sacred geometry in that fashion. But also frequency, and there's something super special about utilizing frequencies to help shift aware consciousness, that more lower version of consciousness, but also to tap into a higher version of consciousness. And it's going to allow us to stimulate that higher version of consciousness, which can help us to heal. It can help us to understand our clients at a much, much deeper level. It can unlock all sorts of amazing secrets and information that can change the way we practice, but also change the way we relate to the world and to other people. You know, I think sometimes we get too caught in a lower version of consciousness, and that lower version of consciousness gets trapped in, the mental process, thoughts. It gets trapped in emotions and feelings, and it gets trapped in belief systems. But I think when we can expand past this into a higher version of consciousness, again, potentially using sacred geometry, but more importantly, using frequencies and resonant frequencies, even more so, then I think we can change so much in our world and our world for our clients. And the great thing that's about frequency is that it's an incredibly complementary piece of technology that can help us in any of the work that we're doing. Because in truth, everything we do is using consciousness and frequency, and to some degree geometry. You know, if we think of atoms and molecules and those sub-particles, then we know there's a form of geometry that molecules sort of come together and form to create the amazing things that molecules create, which theoretically is everything we see. And so frequency then plays a critically important role in shifting, changing, and altering various states, especially if we get into higher consciousness states and therefore higher frequency states, beyond the frequency states that we can see with our five senses. You know, the frequencies of color and light, the frequencies of sound, frequencies of smell and taste, and these are all represented in frequencies, and to a large part can be measured and have been measured. But I think when we activate into that space. We get to tune into the tone and resonant fields of clients and what's happening for them and how we can help them even more effectively. And we can get to start to shift reality. And there's an interesting combination that happens when you use consciousness technology, when you use sacred geometry, and when you use frequency as a medicine. Things shift really, really quickly and incredibly profoundly. So I'd love to know, what have you used to help you to expand consciousness and help you to connect in deeper to that higher realm of consciousness, higher frequency states? I'd love to know, because I've got something really important to share with you very, very soon. A little surprise, a little gift coming up really, really soon. Stay tuned for that. And don't forget, you are absolutely lovable, you are absolutely worthy, and it is time. Ciao.